Hi folks, Dave with DBS Tech Talk. Today we're going to do a comparison between three closed headphones, ZMF Classic, Beyerdynamic Custom Studio, and the Marantz Pro MPH2s. All three completely different price points. We're looking at $50 to $75, $150, and roughly $350 modded with the pilot pad and balanced. So not really a fair fight. You would think, man, for the differences in price, this guy would be significantly different in sounds. Not necessarily. All three have their good points, and all three have a few flaws. Before we get into the comparison, this comparison is between these three headphones and these three headphones only. All comparisons and thoughts are my own. Nobody has influenced me or asked me to say something regarding one of these particular headphones. These headphones are in comparison to each other and not anything else that I have in my office. Comfort-wise, one thing that I did have to change on headphones, and only one thing, was the pads on the Marantz Pros. The stock pads are awful, and so I have the Duconi sheepskins on here, and they work great. Everything else is fantastic. Ranking them in comfort, I would say the Marantz Pro is the least comfortable. Beyerdynamic is second, and the ZMFs with the pilot pad added. I guess if that's another mod that I did. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. I did not have the ZMF pilot pad on when I first received these. So bottom to top modded is the Marantz Beyerdynamic ZMF. Stock would be a different story, and that would go Marantz ZMF Beyerdynamic. So you do have to make a couple tweaks on the headphones to get them to be comfortable. You may have different experiences. Portability wise, the Marantz Pro wins hands down. It folds up very nicely, very compact, very easy to fit in a bag or in a case, and they're the most, how do we put it, basic looking headphone. And they're not going to look awkward in an office. People aren't going to go, holy cow, look at your huge headphones. The next ones up would be the Custom Studio, and these are built for the studio. And so you're going to look okay in that type of setting. And even in an office, they're not massively huge. Massively huge. People are going to notice that you have them on. You're obviously, I mean, I'm not going to walk down the street with them on. The Beyerdynamics fit in a case fairly well. The ZMFs, not so much. They're a little bit harder to find a case to fit, and you can buy one from ZMF, but that thing's a big seahorse style and is quite huge. Power to drive them, extremely easy. Goes off the phone very well. Beyerdynamics are 80 ohms. Most phones will not drive them. You will need a portable amplifier, and works best on a desk setup, but not extremely hard to drive. Hard to drive. Most phones will not drive them, even though they are 50 ohm. You are going to need a portable driver and then or a portable amp, and that will probably even struggle to drive them. The best setup for those is a desktop setup. My preference on all three as far as desktop setups is the AUN stack, which is the AUN X1S as the DAC and the AUN X7S as the amplifier, mainly because I can use the ZMFs in balanced. The others aren't really particular when it comes to amps for the most part. Neither of these are particularly good on tube. Hybrid tube, they're okay. The CTH, they work okay on. but the APPJ, I was okay. Audio GD, NFB 12.1, Geshelli Labs, and the AUN all work well with it. Even the Korg DSD DAC works well. In fact, the Korg DSD DAC amp is a really good match with the Beyerdynamic. Highly recommend that setup, actually. How do they all sound? Bass-wise, when it comes to impact, thump, and just overall girth of it, you're going to get the ZMFs. And the Beyerdynamic is a close one with the bass ports open. Now, this does have the bass ports in it. If you have the bass ports completely closed, you get a very analytical sound, and they can sound a little lean, a little clean, and bright. But with the bass ports completely open, you get a nice thumping kick. The Marantz has a nice thump and kick to it also in the bass. It's just not super clean. The cleanest of these on bass is the ZMF. The most impactful is the ZMF. It just has a way of presenting it and resolving it and getting in and getting out super fast. It's just fast, clean, and tight sounding. The Beyerdynamics are not as tight. They do struggle and can be a little mishmashed at times, so to speak, in the bass. And especially with the bass ports open, they get a little bit muddy and a little too thick and warm. Mm-hmm. The Marantz Pro has that warm, muddy or sound to it at all times. Mid-wise, the Marantz Pros are the most recessed. The Beyerdynamics are just below neutral. They are a pretty neutral sounding headphone. And then the ZMF Classics are more warmed up and forward, and they present and are very intimate sounding. The ZMFs have the most natural timbre to them, the greatest tone, the best resolution and clarity, and the Beyerdynamics have just a little bit of grain at times and can sound but are for the most part fairly neutral with just that recessed, just a smidge. The Marantz Pros are very recessed, sit down, and at times can sound like they're hollow, a little bit of grain in there. Treble wise, the Beyerdynamics are the brightest and most extended. The ZMFs have a laid back but well extended sound. Can at times have a little bit of struggle with some sharpness depending on the song. If it is extremely treble heavy of a song, the ZMFs may sound somewhat bright to some people on that particular song, but for the most part, it's a very smooth treble. The Marantz Pros have a little bit sharpness and edginess to them in the treble. It is pushed forward just a little bit, and it has an edge to it at times. Soundstage, they're closed cans, nothing mega open on these. The best one is the ZMF. Beyerdynamic is a close second, and Marantz isn't really there. The ZMFs are interesting because you get a what sounds like an open sound, but also because of that full body, more intimate sound in the mids, it sounds like you're just more engaged in the soundstage on the ZMFs. The Beyerdynamics you're very much right, center, left. It's it's there, but you don't get that full bodiedness. You don't get that engaging sound. And in the Marantz, it's kind of like the Beyerdynamic. They're just there, right, center, and left. ZMF's Classics have the best layering and the best depth to them of the three. I would say the Marantz lacks that the most. As far as details, the ZMFs and Beyerdynamics both do a good job of showing the detail. The Beyerdynamics seem to push the detail a little bit more because of their brighter sound signature. But the ZMF shows the same details and actually gives you a little bit more detail. It just does it in a more subtle way and is not as bright and as aggressive in the treble. The Marantz Pros are not the best at giving detail. You're not going to lose a whole lot, but you do lose more than you do in the other two. As far as imaging, the ZMFs give you a little bit better of the soundstage and detail than the other two. Even though it's still right, center, and left, you are able to place it a little bit more accurately than the others. Rating them, I can't compare versus all three because neither one of them are in the same price point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend them. Do I see them fitting into price point that they're currently being asked? The Marantz Pros are anywhere from $50 to about $75, maybe a little bit more on Amazon, eBay, and some other sources. I would say if you stick close to the $50 for the Marantz Pros, you're getting a fairly decent headphone for $50. You're getting one that's a good beater for the office and just overall at home. If you're going to use them, like maybe my wife would use them on her piano, works very well for that purpose. I would not use them for mixing. I would not use them for anything of that sort, but for just around the house, if you're looking for a cheap monitor headphone, these work. If you step over the $50 mark, I think that you could get some better headphones in that area. You're stepping up to the Audio-Technica M40X, M50X range. The Beyer Custom Studios usually go for anywhere from $150 to $200. I would say if you stick in the $150 or less range, you're getting a good deal. You're basically getting a DT770 with bass ports, and you're getting a little bit more versatile of a sound. You can go from straight up analytical, very detailed, bright type of headphone to one that is a fun thumping bass, a little bit warmer sound, a little more engaging, more user-friendly. So depending on your preference, if you like an all-around headphone, literally, this would be it for that price range. If you get into 200s, you could get something better overall. Highly recommend that you hear these first, if possible, before you purchase them. They do have a unique sound signature. And the ZMFs, going for $300, and then with a few mods, you're up to $350. Highly recommend that you mod them to be balanced. I also highly recommend that you get a ZMF Pilot Pad for comfort. And I think for $350, you're getting a very good quality headphone. You're getting a very unique experience, and it is by far the best closed headphone that I have heard. And that includes various other ones throughout my years. I would say that this is the best closed back headphone I've ever heard up until this price point. I don't think you could go wrong with it. I think everybody would be happy. Just be where you do need to do a few modifications to it. But hands down, it beats everything else. Do I have a favorite of the three? Absolutely, ZMFs. But the other two still get a little bit of head time, and all of them get a thumbs up from me and a high recommendation. This has been Dave with DBS Tech Talk. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.